Joining me now from New Jersey, criminal defense attorney and anchor at Law Crime Network, Bob Bianchi. Bob, thank you so much for joining me. Bob, obviously this is such a tragedy, and it's so unfortunate to hear that a young man took his life over this negative balance that he saw on his account. It turns out actually his balance wasn't negative, but he decided to take his life either way because he thought like he was in a lot of trouble. So do you think this family has a case?
You know, Stephanie, it really is a tragic thing, but I think the case is thin because the law requires that the actions of the platform, or anybody for that matter, be reasonably foreseeable. And I think we're shocked by this because this is not something that we would consider a foreseeable consequence that somebody would do over losing even what is a tremendous amount of money. So unless we could show more of a connective tissue here, the fact that somebody commits suicide over any kind of financial loss or transaction, to me, is going to be a very difficult road to hoe, with the exception of the fact they may very well enter into a settlement because they just don't want any more negative publicity.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to think that this young man's not the only one who either thought that they lost that much money or has actually lost that much money. But there's certainly instances where something like this can push somebody over the edge. So that being said, there's different variables here. There's people who had the same experience who aren't committing suicide. Is that something that they could use in their defense?
They would, but what the law requires is that when you're looking at foreseeability, that's the legal term, you have to look at what the ordinary rational person would do under such circumstances. That's how it's defined. Everything in the law always comes down to this concept in civil law, foreseeability, and whether the actions were reasonable based on an ordinary person, not this specific person. And I think that it's going to be difficult to show that the ordinary person, in fact, they will show evidence of the fact that many people lost money, and most, if not all, but this person did not do this. That's where the ordinary person standard will come to be very difficult for the family to overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I feel for the family, and I couldn't imagine losing a 20-year-old, especially over something like that. It's really terrible. Now, as I pointed out, Robinhood is facing like a plethora of lawsuits, especially over the GameStop trading frenzy, or maybe non-trading frenzy, because they restricted trades on the GameStop stock. And so people were furious because you could sell, but you couldn't buy anymore. And so they felt like that was really unfair. And then if you think about what Robinhood was supposed to represent, it was for the little guy, for the little people, so they could go up against the hedge funds. But actually, it looked like they were in cahoots with the hedge funds.
Well, Stephanie, this is where the facts are going to make a big difference here. Now, I know that the weight of most legal scholars here is that they have a contract, and the contract basically says they can stop trading. They don't have to trade. And that, in fact, is correct. Now, they're trying to say, Robinhood, that there was a reason they did this because of capital issues and technical regulatory issues. Well, that's one thing that would be a defense. But if it turns out to be what other people are saying, that they were more concerned about hedge funds and large financial institutions and breached their fiduciary duty towards the individual small investor, let's face it, this is a David and Goliath scenario, then there's some meat to the bones on that class action suit.
Yeah, but I could just imagine being a user. That's very frustrating because they signed up, they spend a lot of money there, and then all of a sudden, just like one day, they change the rules on them without notifying them.
Yes, Stephanie. So unlike the hedge funds that can escape when things start going sideways, these little individual investors, retail investors, small-time people who were kind of evening the playing field were locked out. They were literally locked in, I should say better, to their trade, unable to get out like the hedge funds and the large financial institutions can. And this is why you see something very unique about this situation. Can you imagine? We have Democrats and Republicans that want an investigation into this. That must mean something's going on.
Yeah, it certainly needs to be looked into. And again, I know that there are so many people who decided that they don't want to use the app anymore, or the Robinhood platform, and that's fine. But there are people that are continuing to use it. So hopefully they don't get hit with that type of stuff again. We'll see what Robinhood will do, considering they're having to deal with all these lawsuits. Now, meantime, there's a video I played on this show earlier in the week. It was a video that's going viral of a woman who decided to use Gorilla Glue in her hair instead of hairspray because she ran out of hairspray. And now she's considering her legal options. I'm going to roll the viral video first, and then I'll get your reaction after. Roll tape.
Hey, y'all. For those of y'all that know me know my hair has been like this for about a month now. It's not by choice. No. It's not by choice. When I do my hair, I like to, finish it off with the little Got to Be glue spray, just to keep it in place. Well, I didn't have any more Got to Be glue spray, so I used this Gorilla Glue spray. Bad idea. Y'all, look, my hair, it don't move. You hear what I'm telling you? It don't move. I've washed my hair 15 times and it don't move. Stiff wear. Woo! My hair. So I'm going to tell y'all like this. If you ever run out of Got to Be glue spray, don't ever use this unless you want your hair to be like that.
So don't ever use the Gorilla Glue for hairspray. I know what Gorilla Glue is. I would never want to put that in my hair. I wouldn't even want to touch it because I'm sure we've all experienced it with our hands and it's just not a good feeling. And on the Gorilla Glue, it says specifically don't use it on your skin or don't get it near your eyes. But it didn't say specifically don't use it in your hair. And I just saw an update to this story too. I guess she had to have it surgically removed. And so it was a big ordeal. I feel really bad for her, but that was a really, really dumb mistake. But legally speaking, does she have a case?
Okay, well, sometimes I'm sorry. When I read this, Stephanie, I just had a laugh, and I did not see that video. And I mean no disrespect to the woman. I feel bad for her, but I mean, really, how idiotic is it to put something called Gorilla Glue in your hair? And while the disclaimer didn't say, it said don't put it on your skin, don't drink it, the normal things, they're arguing that the hair was not specifically mentioned. And under the law, okay, I'll get antiseptic with you. The law says that a manufacturer has a duty to warn you with reasonable and foreseeable consequences of the use, or even unintended consequences if they believe they could reasonably and foreseeably occur. And I don't think the manufacturer is going to be held responsible for the idea that this person decided to put glue in their hair and then couldn't get it out. I mean, just again, we go back to that reasonable person standard, Stephanie, and you give me a jury of 6 or 12 people or 5 people, how many they are, and I'm going to ask, would you put Gorilla Glue? I think if you didn't even know what it was, would you put a thing called Gorilla Glue in your hair? And if the answer to that is no, you're not winning the case. But again, we get back to the old mantra, Stephanie, it's gone viral. The company's being sued, and they may do that old little calculation that says, well, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars in attorney's fees, and this is a publicity case. Let's throw her some money and get her out of our hair.